Hi, I'm Lisa Prather, and welcome to The Voice of Health with our host, Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where lives are changed every day through the natural approach to healthcare.
Well, today we're going to talk about vitamin E. We've been talking about, on the last couple shows, vitamin A. Today we're going to talk about vitamin E. I remember vitamin E as a child. Anytime we got an owie or a burn, my parents would open up a capsule and
rub that on, and had amazing healing effects, didn't it?
It did. So, Dr. Prather, what is vitamin E?
Vitamin E is one of the fat-soluble vitamins. It's essential to our health and well-being. Again, we've talked about what they mean by vitamins. What they did is, when they were first doing the experimentations with vitamins, is that they thought that they were essential minerals, vital minerals, so they call them vitamins. Now, they found out that they weren't vitamins, but there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm in the 20s and 30s when they were discovering all these vitamins, that there was going to be an answer to our health and well-being, much like we look towards drugs now, as something that's new and exciting. Back then, vitamins were the big thing.
This was when?
This was in the 20s and 30s. 1910, when they started discovering. 20s and 30s, when they were able to start to develop them. And then, of course, they named them. The first one that they found was vitamin A. We talked about how important it was. Then they found the B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, and then vitamin E.
Okay.
So that's how they kind of named them, as right there with the alphabet. And vitamin E they found very interestingly in some of their research. First, what you do is you deprive the animal. So what they would do is do the experiments with the animals, and then they would deprive them of certain types of nutrients and discover what it did to people. And then they would try to, to the animals. Right. And then they would try to isolate it and find out exactly what the chemical compound was. Interesting.
So are all vitamin E's the same?
No. One of the things that is very, very true, as you do experimentation, they found that natural vitamin E is much more effective than synthetic vitamin E. Synthetic vitamin E just doesn't have the same effects as natural vitamin E. So not all vitamin E's are made the same. So finding out, the source of your vitamin E, what it's made up of. There's actually several different forms of vitamin E. There's alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and those
sounds
all...
like a fraternity or sorority.
And it's basically according to the chemical compounds that are involved in it, but there are better ones than others.
And we carry vitamin E. How many vitamin E's do we carry at our office?
We carry 3 different kinds of vitamin E's.
Depending on what the person needs.
Right.
So what is the best vitamin E?
The very best vitamin E is alpha tocopherol. That's the one that actually has the most abundant in nature, and the best one with the best effects in the body.
So you called it tocopherol.
Tocopherol.
Okay. What does that mean?
Interestingly, tocopherol means to bring forth childbirth. Right. Remember when I talked about how they were doing different experimentations to find out, basically they worked backwards. If they made a nutritional deficiency, what was the nutrition then that was deficient that caused the problem? And so what they found is that when they deprived animals of the alpha tocopherol, or vitamin E, that they became infertile. So the males, the testes would actually degenerate. And
not good.
And they wouldn't be able to produce sperm. And then they found that the females, if they were low on vitamin E, then they would have miscarriages. So vitamin E was called the infertility drug. Or the infertility vitamin. So it's probably one of the most important things for infertility in the whole nutritional makeup.
Interesting.
So that's why it was called tocopherol, was because it had such an important effect on infertility. So
I had never heard that.
Right, and it's not something that's actually that well known. Matter of fact, if you go to most infertility doctors, they actually don't usually know that. But one of the things that we've had is we had a lot of women who come in with infertility problems, and one of the things we usually check on to see is, are they low on vitamin E? And we start to give that, and we have a very high success naturally of solving infertility issues.
And it's nice to do that naturally.
Yes. Much easier on the person than all the different hormones that are involved in that.
And that's called tocopherol. I learned a new word today.
Yeah, tocopherols. So, that's oftentimes when you look at vitamin E capsules, they will sit there and say what type of tocopherol they are. Alpha tocopherol, beta tocopherol, or...
Well, I'm taking some right now, not for infertility.
Well, that's good. That makes me feel better, being your husband.
Well, let's talk about, why is vitamin E so important to the heart?
Vitamin E has one of the things is there was a big to-do about vitamin E. You know how different fads come through?
Yes.
Right now it's the CBD oil. Before there was a vitamin D fad. There was a vitamin E fad too, where everybody was supposed to get on vitamin E, and the main thing that they were talking about was for the heart. And they came out then with new studies saying it didn't do anything. But when they did the new studies, just to kind of see what it... Remember I talked about synthetic doesn't work? They used all synthetic for their experimentation and then said, well, it didn't work. For those who knew nutrition, could have told them it wasn't going to work because they were using the wrong kind of vitamin E. And you couldn't convince, sometimes researchers, they have their own agenda. But vitamin E actually is extremely important to the heart. One of the things is if you have any kind of arrhythmia or any different types of problems with heart beat, where it's actually going off, vitamin E is probably one of the very best things that you can take. So it balances out the rhythm of the heart. And there's several technical reasons on why that I won't go into it because I would bore our listeners. But it definitely really helps out with heart rhythms. Also, it helps with the oxygenation of the heart.
Very important.
Yes, it's really a sparing type of thing on the oxygenation of the heart. Really big for congestive heart failure, all sorts of different types of things. You get a tremendous amount of benefit from that. Also, for cardiomyopathy, that's where you have a virus that breaks down the muscle tissue in the heart, and vitamin E actually is a sparing type of thing on heart tissue.
Wow.
So there's several different ways that it helps out with the heart. It also helps out with cardiovascular disease because it prevents arteriosclerosis and atherosclerosis too. Because of the, it really is, I think when we're talking about vitamin A, right, vitamin A.
Okay.
Then vitamin E actually spares vitamin A, because it throws itself in front of the free radicals. So it's a very big free radical scavenger, and it's basically free radicals that cause the damage to the arteries that starts to lay down the plaque and then leads to atherosclerosis.
I can just picture these little vitamin E capsules, with little legs and hands, jumping in front of the vitamin A.
Yes, and taking one for the team. So vitamin
I like
E,
those vitamin E's.
Yeah, vitamin E is a very, very helpful throughout the whole system.
So how does vitamin E help with venous thrombosis?
That is one of the biggest things. You know how you can get varicose veins and different problems along with the whole venous system, thrombosis when you start to have blockage in the veins. Vitamin E is one of the best things for that. It actually cuts down on clotting time. It also keeps platelets from coagulating. So one of the things that happens when you got high levels of free radicals, they actually attach to the red blood cells. When they attach to the red blood cells, then it makes the red blood cells sticky, and then they start to stick together. That's one of the things you can see in microscopes, and it's a sign of free radical pathology going on. You can also test it whenever you do a blood test. There's numbers that come back that show that the red blood cells are sticky. You put vitamin E, and then those red blood cells no longer become sticky. So it's very, very helpful. It's very helpful for the whole venous system. What happens is with the veins, you have little valves that go through the veins, and those valves are damaged by free radicals. So they no longer, because those valves actually keep the blood from backflowing. Now what happens with free radicals is that damages that, and then the veins start to swell. So one of the main things, remember I said that during that pregnancy was very important to maintain the pregnancy with vitamin E, so the body uses up a lot of vitamin E. That's why women get varicose veins while they're pregnant, is because they don't have enough vitamin E. If they keep up on their vitamin E, then they don't get the varicose veins.
I hate those varicose veins.
Right. But it's vitamin E that really protects the body from that. And also from stickiness in the veins too.
Okay, when we come back, more on the benefits of vitamin E.
You can win a free 60-minute massage in a relaxing spa at the Prather practice. Each month we have a drawing to give away a free massage to one of our lucky Facebook and Twitter fans. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather practice. What role do hormones play in weight loss?
Extremely important. An example would be I had a patient came in, and she was overweight and really concerned about it, did some blood tests, and she was wanting to get started in a dietary program. And she showed up that she was hypothyroid. I said, it's going to be completely useless to be starting you on a diet program until we get your hormones set. So hormones really make a tremendous difference on whether people can lose weight or not. So we got her thyroid all set to where it should be, and she lost 60 pounds.
Wow, just by having her hormones balanced.
Just by getting her thyroid balanced. And she didn't change her diet. She didn't do anything. She hadn't even started on it. All of her friends were wanting to come in and lose 60 pounds. And take those few supplements to accomplish that. I've had gentlemen who I knew, we just got his testosterone up to par. And he lost 25 pounds. Just simply by getting his testosterone balanced out.
So how are the hormones evaluated?
The best way is blood work. So this is not something that we're guessing at. This is something that we know. We can know exactly what every single portion of your hormones are doing. We can get in there and really break it down and see what's happening. And then we know how to naturally bring that back into par. And that's an important part of what we do. And that's something that's unique within our office, that we can really make a big difference on a natural type of basis to really bring those hormones back into balance. One of the interesting things is that very few people are balanced. That's one of the things that we find as we really check that out. There's very few people that have a good working endocrine system and a balanced hormonal system. And again, we're all about homeostasis. Bring that back into normal, and it's amazing how many things are corrected. The two things that control everything are the nervous system and the endocrine system. So, the first thing that you have to do is get the endocrine system balanced. We're not going to start a fat loss program until we know what your endocrine system, what your hormones are doing.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather practice, restoring hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest.
Well, today we're talking about the benefits of vitamin E. Benefits I didn't even realize. You were talking about helping with infertility.
Yes.
The heart. The free radicals.
Veins,
I know that's what I'm taking it for.
Right.
Preventing, as I'm getting older, those free radicals. I always think it sounds like a rock band.
Yeah, it's a very big thing, to as you get older, especially the fatty acid vitamins become lower. So, the vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K become a deficiency. And that's one of the reasons that people age.
Interesting. So, like I was telling at the beginning of the show, my parents had the vitamin E capsules if we had burns. So how can vitamin E help with burns or inflammation or cuts, lacerations?
Yes. One of the things is that vitamin E is very important for cell integrity. So it really helps with cellular repair. Also, if you have like a burn or different types of damage, free radical damage is actually something that occurs there. So you can use the vitamin E topically and help with cuts. It helps to speed up healing with cuts, helps to speed up with burns or any type of a damage to the skin. Interestingly enough, also, are you familiar with what they call liver spots or age spots?
Yes.
That is totally taken care of from vitamin E.
Oh, so you just can't open up all those capsules and put it on there.
What you do is you take it internally, because that's actually where it starts. But then also you can put one of the things that is very smart for creams and products, to help with those types of age spots is vitamin E. So vitamin E is a real big, important types of things. So if you start to get brown areas on your body, that is a very strong indication of vitamin E deficiency.
Is that like because of the free radicals?
Free radicals is what's causing all that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So can vitamin E help with triglycerides?
Yes, that is really a very fascinating. There's a very strong ratio on that. So triglycerides usually come from damage from the pancreas, and one of the things that the vitamin E does is it really works on something called the lysosomes inside the cells, and there's a higher level in the pancreas than other places. So if you start to get some vitamin E deficiency, then triglycerides start to go up in the body, and that's a sign that the pancreas is under free radical stress. So you hit heavy with the vitamin E, and you can usually drop your triglycerides.
It is helpful for a lot of things.
Yeah, most of these vitamins are vital minerals for a reason, and they found very definite disease processes that happen when you become deficient. It's something that's very, very evident. One of the things is that 70% of all Americans are deficient in vitamin E.
70%.
70% do not get enough vitamin E on a daily basis.
It's just interesting what you talked about, like in the 1920s and 30s. It's what
was very exciting.
Like prescription medicine is today.
Right.
Did they do commercials on? Well, no.
No, there was a big struggle between the pharmaceutical industry and the ideas of the vitamins. Who was going to get the research, and who was going to get the money, and who was going to get the publicity out there to really start treating diseases. And the pharmaceutical company had a lot more financial backing than the vitamins did.
Interesting. So can vitamin E prevent tumor growth?
Yes. Vitamin E is extremely important for prevention of cancer, of tumors. There's a very strong correlation, very well proven. Many scientific studies that have been continually done to show that vitamin E is one of the most important things, because what happens is with the free radicals, they go in there and damage as the cells reproduce. Free radicals will actually damage the cells so that then they start to grow tumors instead of normal cells. Vitamin E protects the cells from doing that. So very important in cancer prevention, and also any person who's dealing with cancer, looking at their vitamin E levels is extremely important.
Now, you said vitamin E is a fat soluble.
Fat soluble.
So you need to be careful on dosaging, right?
Now, one of the things, of course, we talked about the damages from vitamin A, vitamin D, where you can actually become damaged. The interesting thing about vitamin E, the only thing that you have to watch out for is it might make the other vitamins a little bit lower, but there has never been a death from overtaking vitamin E.
Okay.
Vitamin E is probably one of the safer. You can actually get very high dosages for vitamin E and be completely safe, which is really nice. So you can really hit the vitamin E without the worries of the other fatty soluble vitamins.
So we talked about too, how do you check for these vitamins? I know we do that at the Prather practice.
Right. There are lab tests that you can do to actually check and see what the levels are in the body, which is very nice. So, we're not really guessing that you need it. We know that you need it.
Interesting. So can vitamin E, I know A is very helpful with vision. Can vitamin E also be helpful with vision?
Yeah, vitamin E, macular degeneration and cataracts are the two things that really have a big effect by the vitamin E.
Things as you grow older.
Right. Again, we're talking about, and any time that you have either macular degeneration or cataracts, then you have free radical damage that's causing problems. And vitamin E is very sparing for the eyes and keeps those things from occurring. It's the only reason that you develop either one of those things is because you're low on vitamin E. And of course, as you age, almost everybody gets low on vitamin E.
So what role does vitamin E play in diabetes?
Diabetes, very important. Remember when we were talking about the triglycerides? Triglycerides, as it starts to come in, is one of the first indicators of a pre-diabetic situation. So vitamin E can really help to prevent type 2 diabetes. Also, if you have type 2 or type 1 diabetes, if you take large amounts of vitamin E, you have to watch out, because usually your insulin requirements really start to drop quite rapidly. So if you want to cut down on how much insulin you're taking, take vitamin E, and that really helps. Also, when you have diabetes, is you don't heal very well. And you can actually take large amounts of vitamin E, and you start to get much, much better healing. Or if you have ulcers from diabetes, you can actually use it topically and internally and really take care of that quite quickly. So
interesting.
Extremely helpful. Very, very important for all of our diabetics to take vitamin E.
Now, I can just picture some people going out and going to that health food store and, buying the mega bottle of vitamin E. Don't do that.
Well, it's best to really check, to get a balance on that. I really encourage people to go to a structure function doctor who can actually guide people. But one of the nice things is you want to make sure that you're getting natural vitamin E, not synthetic, because synthetic vitamin E really doesn't work. It's kind of a waste of money.
And it'll say that on the bottle.
You should be able to, talk to whoever's a representative there. You could actually look at it. Yeah. It should say whether it's natural and is it alpha tocopherol, or, what is the source for that. So, but one of the nice things is people are actually safer to take that particular vitamin than almost any other one.
The vitamin E.
The vitamin
even though it's fat soluble.
Even though it's a fat soluble, it's really one of the safer ones just to really start going after. The vitamin A, the vitamin D, a lot of different types of things like that really have to be monitored. Vitamin E is something that you can kind of really go after and be pretty safe.
And what I like, what we do at the Prather practice is really see, that blueprint to their health.
Right.
Where they're deficient, what vitamins they're deficient in.
And people don't want to waste money, so finding out what is going to work the best for someone is the best way to go.
Yeah, I remember, didn't we have a patient thought she could get, something cheaper, a supplement that we put her on, so she went and got it cheaper somewhere else, and we ended up having to do an x-ray on her and saw it never had dissolved. We showed her that. It wasn't the best thing to do.
No.
Well, when we come back, more on the benefits of vitamin E.
Listen to the Voice of Health Radio on your smartphone or tablet on all of the top radio apps available. TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can find these apps and more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. Laughter is the best medicine.
And they had warned her, they had told her that probably more than likely, as they removed this mass, you would probably be left with the colostomy bag. And she was dreading that. She talked about it. She was obsessed by it. Finally, I told her, trying to get her mind off the colostomy bag, I've paid the surgeon a little extra money. When you wake up, you're going to look like Dolly Parton. And then she got really nervous about that. Don't you dare. Well, sure enough, when she came out into the recovery room, they had placed her colostomy bag on her, and we knew she was going to hate it and dread it, so we blew up a couple of balloons. And we just said, Mom, the bad news is you have the colostomy, but the good news is you look hot. She just cracked her eyes. Get those off of me.
A special message from the DTS Weight Loss Center at the Prather practice.
Are you tired of making the same weight loss resolution only to end up right back where you started? Let the professionals at DTS Weight Loss Center take all the frustration out of dieting. Our nutritionists and wellness coaches know what works for every body type and can develop a plan specific to your needs throughout your medically supervised program. Make the change by visiting us online at dtsweightlosscenter.com. Dedicate, transform, succeed.
When you call the Prather practice to schedule your appointment at our DTS Weight Loss Center, mention the Voice of Health radio show and you'll receive a free initial consultation plus a free body composition analysis. 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. The DTS Weight Loss Center at the Prather practice. Dedicate, transform, succeed.
I was feeling so bad. I asked my family doctor just what I had. I said, doctor.
I'm Lisa Prather, and you're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where we get to the root cause of your health issue.
Well, today we're talking about the benefits of vitamin E. And very interesting, a lot of benefits to vitamin E.
Very much.
Wow, you're talking about the heart, infertility issues. And
one thing that I really like the idea of is, instead of doing pharmaceuticals, get into vitamins as a treatment for, where you can really help out things. Now, it's not, and I want to point out that it's not on the disease, this is structure function. Right. So what you're trying to do is make the body healthier. It doesn't treat diseases directly. What it does is it helps to heal the body. So you're promoting health, bringing about health, and then the body heals itself and then gets rid of the problem.
Now, you're talking about, I know our longtime listeners, they hear us talk about disease care and structure function.
Right.
The Prather practice, we practice, structure function medicine. Can you explain that real quickly?
Sure. When you've got disease care, what you do is you have a disease, which is a set of symptoms that you put together, and then you have pharmaceuticals that are then are counter to that, and actually will treat the symptoms that are associated with that disease, and get those things under control. So, as you have, even like with when we're talking about arrhythmias, there are certain types of medicines that are directly treat the arrhythmias. Vitamin E, on the other hand, what it does structure functionally is it normalizes the health of the heart and the conductions that are involved in that. And then one of the outcomes of the healing of what's going on is that the arrhythmias get better. It doesn't force the change on that, so it approaches it from a different type of a standpoint. What we're doing is, when we're talking about disease care, we're talking about the symptomatology, and then when we're talking about structure function care, we're talking about the root cause, and then trying to fix and make the body healthier. And then one of the side benefits is that disease oftentimes will go into remission.
It's helping the body heal itself.
And that's the difference. I'm a structure function are health doctors, improving the health of the individual. Disease care is taking care of the diseases.
That's interesting, and I wanted to make sure to explain that to some of our newer listeners.
Sure.
So let's talk about, do people get enough vitamin E in their diet?
No. 70% of everyone really is deficient along those lines. And as you age, you just don't get enough vitamin E. The levels really drop along those lines.
Darn that aging.
Yes, and your requirements actually can become greater. Now, pregnant women have very, very high needs for vitamin E. So, that's one time that you really need to make sure that you get enough vitamin E, and that will really start to, help you out quite a bit. One, you have a much better, much less chance of miscarriage for carrying. I've had women who've come in who've had 4 miscarriages, did a whole series of things. One of the things we did was got them on vitamin E, and we had a real big change on carrying the baby to term. Also, but one of the things that will start, if you start to get or have problems with varicose veins, then that's definitely a sign that you need the vitamin E.
Well, let's talk about that, because I know you have thoughts on this. Is this the multivitamin? Well, why don't I take a multivitamin with all these vitamins in it? What's your thought on that, Dr. Prather?
Well, one of the things is, if you are high on a certain type of a vitamin and low on something, the body works in a very interesting way. It will absorb what you're high on and not absorb what you're low on. So, unfortunately, multivitamins don't oftentimes work unless they're more into a food type of a level. But synthetic vitamins need to be more isolated if you're actually producing them and then giving them to people. So, multivitamins, unless you're kind of balanced, I don't usually recommend them.
I don't think we carry.
We do, because there are people who we have that, you're pretty well balanced. You maintain everything with this multivitamin.
Okay.
And that has worked quite well. So there are people that we give that to, but usually we have them balanced out before we start them on one.
Interesting. Yeah, I wanted to know your take on that. So what are some sources of vitamin E?
Well, interestingly enough, it's a lot of the plant oils. So, as you see all the different types of oils that you buy, olive oil, sunflower oil, all those different ones have vitamin E in it. Now, one of the things is you want to have it as least processed as possible. Almost all the vitamin E that we get naturally into capsules is from processing of natural oils. Because they process all the vitamin E out of it, so when you actually take the oils, you don't get the benefit. So
why do they do that?
It actually is a better way of kind of preserving it, and then they get to sell the vitamin E on the side.
Oh, okay.
So there's financial considerations along those lines. So you don't want it heated because that destroys vitamin E. The best source for vitamin E is safflower oil. It's 90% vitamin E.
90%.
90%, yeah, tocopherols. So safflower oil is almost like taking a vitamin E capsule. And very excellent.
Put it on your salad or something.
Put it on your salad, all those types of things. So you can actually eat, have the safflower oil, and you're getting high dosages of vitamin E.
But you said once we heat it.
Once you heat it, you destroy vitamin E.
Okay.
So, having it non-heated is the best way to do that. The other places is whole grains. The wheat germ is actually one of the big areas for that. And also when we process it with the grains, if you're not doing it naturally, then you usually take out all the vitamin E. So that's one of the things that also occurs. So a lot of the processed foods, we lose the vitamin E. And of course, one of the great sources is liver.
Liver again.
Liver is a big storage area. Yeah, liver is the answer to almost everything. Also some dairy, they have some in there. But those are the best ways. And then green leafy vegetables. But the best place to get it is the oils. Seed oils.
Seed oils. Interesting. So can vitamin E help with neurological conditions?
Ooh, big time. One of the things that we see is like Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's with large doses of vitamin E actually has been proven to be better for prevention of degeneration, better than the pharmaceuticals.
Wow.
So high levels of vitamin E are very, very good. Also, it helps with Parkinson's symptoms. It also helps out with neuropathy and neuralgia associated with diabetes. You get some really good results with vitamin E with that. MS, it actually prevents a lot of the degeneration in the myelin sheaths of the spinal cord with vitamin E, and sometimes you can even get some reversal on that.
So when it's helping with these things, the heart, diabetes, neurological, are you talking about mega doses?
Usually you're going to be able to get that, you're going to need larger dosages. That should be actually monitored on how much is necessary from someone who actually knows how to do that.
Right. Just no guessing.
Right.
Can vitamin E play a role in maintenance of skeletal, smooth muscle? You talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, it prevents the lysosomal damage inside the cells. And lysosomes are little cells inside that when they burst, they eat up the cell. And there's a membrane that has that needs to maintain its integrity. And if that membrane is damaged, usually by free radicals, then you start to get cellular destruction. So vitamin E is considered the vitamin for muscular dystrophy. Matter of fact, if you combine octacosanol, vitamin F, and you combine vitamin E, you can really do amazing things with muscular dystrophy. So that's probably one of the best treatments for muscular dystrophy out there. For those people who might know someone in that condition, you can get some really good results.
And can vitamin E affect hormonal balance?
Very, very important along those lines. One of the things that is hyperestrogenism. It causes a lot of issues for women. One of the things is fibrocystic breasts. Occurs. So if you take large amounts of vitamin E, it will actually reduce the estrogen levels and actually solve the breast tenderness that women get. It also helps to solve PMS, endometriosis. It really is very important for the thyroid. So really keeping up on the high levels of vitamin E can really balance out the hormones in the system too.
Yeah, that's amazing, all that the vitamin E helps with.
Yeah.
I'm going to go take my vitamin E.
Oh, there you go. Now you see why you put you on that, right?
All right. When we come back, We have a patient from the Prather practice who's going to share her story and her journey to health.
Never miss an episode of The Voice of Health so that you can stay informed and empowered about your health. Get a podcast of our show automatically delivered to you every week by signing up for our show on iTunes. You can find that link on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. And don't forget, thevoiceofhealthradio.com has complete archives of all of our past episodes with an audio library of information to help you add more life to your years and more years to your life. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice. The 3 tests, Dr. Prather, that you suggest everyone have every year, to give a complete picture of health is the Prather Profile Blood Analysis, the GI Effect Stool Kit, and the hair analysis. And what does the hair analysis reveal about a person's health?
Well, one of the most important things that we're looking on a hair analysis is the possibility of heavy metal toxicity. That can cause a huge variety of diseases and symptoms that can actually occur. Any type of autoimmune disease could begin with a heavy metal toxicity, or any type of neurological conditions, MS, ALS, a lot of those types of diseases can be kicked off by heavy metal toxicity, including a whole host of symptoms that would be hard to explain any other way. The other things that show up with the hair analysis is the balance of the minerals. It can play a huge effect on the entire system. When plants actually grow, they can actually make the fatty acids, the vitamins, the amino acids, but the minerals have to come from the ground. So if the minerals aren't there, they can't make them. So the most common deficiencies that can occur in nutritional health of an individual is mineral deficiencies or mineral imbalances. And the hair analysis is the best way to actually show up those changes that can occur.
Well, how does the hair analysis help find the root cause of health issues? And no pun intended there.
When you're actually trying to discover what's going on in an individual, so many things can actually result with a mineral imbalance or a heavy metal toxicity that it really behooves us to actually do that particular test. And that's one reason that I recommend it be done at least once a year. And if there's any type of important type of disease process going on or unexplained symptoms, checking on the hair analysis really can show a tremendous amount and reveal the underlying problem.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where our mission is restoring hope to our patients. Well, I'm joined today by 2 lovely ladies. We have Barb here, and Barb's going to share her story and her health journey here at the Prather Practice. Thanks for joining us, Barb. And we also have Robin here, one of our nutritionists at the Prather Practice. And Robin has followed your care for the last 2 years, and so we wanted her to be part of this. So welcome, Robin.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So Barb, let's talk about your health journey. It's been a long journey. I think you told us 10 years you've been.
Yes.
And what brought you into the Prather Practice?
Well, in 2017, a friend who's also a healthcare worker knew that I had just struggled so much with thyroid, and she suggested, have you ever thought about going to Dr. Prather? And I was like, well, no, but I would. And so that was how I got here. My thyroid was removed 10 years ago due to cancer, and I have struggled with it ever since.
So that was how long ago? Did you say your thyroid was removed?
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So you struggled with that ever since
Yes.
then.
And I sought every kind of medical care, every end of the spectrum, just trying to feel better. And so I finally came here.
So what kind of struggles were you having?
Well, particularly just ongoing and almost debilitating fatigue. In every way, physical, mental, you name it. I just was completely exhausted. And I'd had a lot of problems with medication. So I couldn't find a medication that worked right, or I'd kind of crash off of it, and all my numbers would just plummet, and I would feel terrible again and sort of start over. So that was how I would cycle through all those years.
Okay. Were you taking thyroid medicine at this time?
Yes,
Okay.
I was.
All right. And Robin, do you remember her when she first came in?
I do. I've been lucky enough to see Barb one-on-one for a little bit over a year now, and when she came in, she was beyond tired. She was a little impatient, and mostly she was overwhelmed by everything she was experiencing.
Does that sound about right?
Yes, yes.
So you came into the Prather practice and met with Dr. Prather.
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
Well, I did his Prather
Profile, the blood work?
Yes. And the first thing he said was that it was pretty bad. And we talked a lot about that. And the one thing about it that I will never forget was Dr. Prather was telling me things about myself that I could not ever get anyone else to understand. And so I finally felt like there might be hope here, that because he seemed to really get it.
Yeah, and actually the thyroid was one of his thyroid issues as a young man is what caused him to go into this profession.
I understood that.
Yeah.
So I really was hopeful.
Yeah, when he said, I understand, he really meant it.
Yes.
So what was he saying, how long this process would take? Or?
Well, he initially felt that with my numbers were pretty bad. They were pretty off the charts. And so he initially said that it would probably take about 3 years, and he would be thrilled if he could see my TSH get down under 15. And indeed, in 2 years, now it has.
So in 2 years, is it TSH, did you say? And where is it now?
Well, it's at 14.3, which I know is still high, but it was 94.
It was 94.
So that's a huge, that's great progress.
Yes.
And it was slow, but that's okay. And over that time, as we worked on nutritional things and did a lot with supplements, what Dr. Prather explained to me is that my glands and my hormones, everything is in such better shape now that my body is starting to be able to produce that TSH on its own, and that's why we're seeing such a remarkable, I feel it's a remarkable result.
That's wonderful. So are you still on the medication along with the supplementation?
Yes.
Because I know once they take that out, and that was because of cancer, your thyroid was removed.
Yes.
Wonderful. Because I think some people think, oh, I get my thyroid removed, I take the medication for the rest of my life, and there's nothing more I can do. And what would you say to them?
Well, I would say that was not my situation at all. I really, really never could find medication that worked well for me. I'm sure there were many things going on, which then is what led to a year ago. Can I go into that?
Yes.
So I really was not feeling well at all. It was exactly a year ago. And Dr. Prather did a complete assessment with x-rays, everything. And that was when he started me on working on my neck and my posture. And he put me on a regimen, a program of acupuncture, adjustments, EDS, massage therapy, several things.
Did you see us in rehab for corrective exercise?
Yes, I did. And so I did what he suggested that I do. I saw that through, and then I went more of a maintenance program, I guess you'd say. And I've stuck with that. So it's been about a year, and now we're seeing the results.
So you came in kind of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but functional, because we call what we do structure function medicine. So you came on the functional side.
Yes.
And then after a year added in the structural side.
Yes.
And really noticed a difference when you combine them.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you say about that, Robin? Did you see a big difference for her?
Oh, yeah. Her results were like night and day once we started working synergistically as an office to heal her from the inside out and the outside in. We saw peace and harmony just growing inside of her, and it gave her this hope that brought her to a brighter tomorrow.
That's so exciting.
Yes, there's no doubt. There is no doubt.
So you talked about the different services that you've had here. Massage, chiropractic, acupuncture. Right? And also the supplementation with the diagnostics done. So now your TSH is almost normal, right? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling much better. It's a little hard to say because we're in the throes of a major life change. We're making a physical move from Indiana to another location. So I'm kind of always battling that. But all that to say, a year ago, I could have never done this. And I know that's been a huge marker for me because a year ago I couldn't have even thought about doing this, let alone doing it, selling a home, getting a home ready to sell, selling a home, and building a home and being ready to move.
Right.
So I think that is the test.
Yeah.
That's the testimony for me.
And how's your fatigue?
I do much better. I'm much more level. I think thyroid patients sometimes always struggle with sleep and those kind of issues, but it's just not as severe as it used to be.
I remember when you first came in, and do you notice that, Robin? Patients change, even their physicalness. Your face is softer. I mean, I don't feel, because you're feeling better.
Right.
People come in so sick.
Yeah, I remember you used to come in with these sad puppy dog eyes, like you just didn't know what the next day would bring, and now I know every time I see you, you're excited and you're smiling, and we normally have some kind of story to chat about or some life change that we're pleased to talk to each other about.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you're going to be moving, and how will your care look then?
I don't know. I definitely will keep in contact with Dr. Prather and see how I feel.
Yeah.
We're moving too far for me to come on a regular basis, but it will be hard for me to just go cold turkey without Dr. Prather and this practice because it's...
Well, we do phone consults, and we got to get them on that telemedicine. Get that going, right? For people like you. So if someone's listening that has struggled with their health, they're listening right now, what would you share with them?
I would say try this. I really would say try this. Come to the Prather practice. At least try and listen to what they have to offer. Meet with Dr. Prather, listen to what he has to say, because I have found him to be very understanding and very easy to work with. I just always felt like I could say that's not going to work for me, or I'm not comfortable with that, and he would help us find another way. And that is something that I believe, in my experience, very few practices offer that. So
that's wonderful.
I would say try and be willing to be patient and stick it out, because if it takes 2 years, I'm thrilled that I feel better in 2 years than worse.
Right.
And I was only feeling worse year after year after year.
Right. That's wonderful. So, anything else you want to say?
Just thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
It's just been great. It's been a great outcome.
Well, we'll miss you.
Thank you.
I definitely am going to miss you. I would consider you a friend.
I know, my friends. That's like my friends here. I'm like, oh, my friends. So,
You know, it was never a matter of if, but when. We knew if we were gentle enough and sensitive enough with you, and we talked about the lifestyle stuff, that it would come to fruition, and I'm just so proud of you.
No, thank you. I'm very thankful.
Thank you, ladies.
The Prather practice is located at 8902 North Meridian Street on the north side of Indianapolis, just south of the I-465 loop. If we can help you to achieve better health, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with our office at 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Join us again here next week or anytime on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com for The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather.